Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. On behalf of my fellow co-chair of the board of the Commonwealth Institute, Liz Alicia Aviles, it is our pleasure to welcome you to the 13th annual Top Women-Led Businesses Awards Ceremony and Luncheon. Liz and I are proud to have the opportunity to lead this important and meaningful organization in our community. And our work could not be possible without an inspiring board. So if possible, could the members of our advisory board of the Commonwealth Institute South Florida please stand for a moment? We're so grateful for all you do. Take a minute. Additionally, events like today, as well as the more than 30 content and programming happenings that the Commonwealth Institute annually hosts throughout South Florida, would not happen without the leadership and hard work of our outstanding staff. Lori K. Davis, Executive Director, and Katie Doyle, Programming and Membership Manager. A heartfelt thank you to our big sponsors, our headline sponsors for today, Kaufman and Rossen and Wells Fargo, with additional support by the Miller Family Foundation, as well as an outstanding set of companies and individuals whose names you see projected on the screen. So thank you all for helping this day come to pass. So we're very thrilled to welcome you today. For some of you, this may be the first time that you participate in a Commonwealth Institute event. Our name has legacy attached to it, and I always like to share how our organization was founded on the principle of a true commonwealth. Like-minded individual entities coming together with a common objective of sharing experiences and supporting each other's ongoing business success and personal development. TCI just celebrated our 20th anniversary, and our vision remains the same: to unleash the potential of women leaders to drive successful businesses and inspire those around them. Which is a perfect segue to today's important event. Today, thanks to the generous support of Kaufman Rossen, you will be hearing the results of our annual survey, where we take the pulse of women leaders from both businesses as well as nonprofit organizations. Through our proprietary research, we learn about some specific concerns of the women leaders in our community, their goals for the coming year, and their advice to others following in their footsteps. Additionally, on our panel today, we'll hear insights and perspectives from a few of South Florida's outstanding women leaders. And this links right back to our mission of providing business and professional women leadership development, high-level networking, and mentoring through our content-rich events and programming. We have differing options for participation based on your goals. There are brochures on your tables and cards that describe different membership options. We'd like to take a few minutes to highlight a special program for emerging women leaders looking to enhance their leadership skills and acquire that next level skill to help them grow into more senior executive roles. This program is called Strategies for Success. Please join me in welcoming Amy Hurwitz, who will share her experience with the Strategies for Success program. Amy?
Good afternoon, everybody. As Lisa mentioned, my name is Amy Hurwitz. I'm a shareholder in the national trial practice of the law firm Carlton Fields. I serve now on the TCI Board of Advisors, and I'm the chair of the Strategies for Success program, which is very near and dear to my heart. I'm happy to speak to you today as we officially kick off our registration for our fall 2018 program. It's near and dear to my heart because my involvement with TCI began through Strategies for Success. I was called into the office of one of our more senior partners one day several years ago, and she told me that she sat on this board, the TCI board, and there was a training program that the organization was offering for high potential women. She said she wanted me to consider participating. Well, all I needed to hear was high potential, and I was very flattered. So I decided to check it out. I looked at the brochure, and the program takes place over 4 days. And then I was totally freaked out, right? Because 4 days, how am I going to get out of the office? This is a program for women in business, and I wasn't sure that it was the right fit for me. But I dug a little deeper, and I read that TCI is an organization of success-oriented women who are committed to growing and supporting each other. Now that sounded like a good fit for me. And then I read about strategies for success, and the description said, a development program for emerging and high-potential women managers. Now, in a law firm, working with people senior to me as well as junior to me, and serving on a host of firm committees, I thought this could really help me. So I checked it out, and it turns out that in my 18 years as a litigator, Strategies for Success was by far the 4 most valuable days of training I have ever received. To understand why, you have to know what's behind Strategies for Success. And now serving as chair of the committee, I've seen it firsthand. It's a group of women who are dedicated to training other women. It is successful women who are dedicated to supporting other women. Successful business women with experiences and knowledge to share who are dedicated to mentoring other women. It is truly driven by a pay-it-forward mentality. At each session, I got to meet these driven and successful women who are up and coming in a variety of businesses, industries, and perspectives. And each time I left one of these programs, I had a takeaway, something tangible that I could put into practice. Either thinking back on how my personality affects my decision-making, how my personality traits affect my interactions with others, learning how to give constructive feedback to people who are below me and even people who are senior to me, and how to ask for things that I deserved, and how to take charge and advocate for my own career path. They were tools that I used not only in my professional life, but to this day I use in my personal life. And in addition to the benefits I received, my company, my law firm benefited, because the more I participated in Strategies for Success, the more confident I became. The more confident I became, the more willing I was to participate and volunteer. I was eager to get involved and participate in management. I became more confident as a leader, and I therefore became more effective, more respected, and more productive at work. I would encourage all of you to check out the materials. Don't panic when you see 4 days, because they are worth every second you will spend. If you think you are not a candidate, think about women in your organization who are high-performing potential leaders and register them for this program. Our launch kicks off today. Registration is open, but space is limited, and all the information you need is in your goodie bags. Thank you so much.
TCI has a Strategies for Success program that I think you'd be a great candidate for.
Which is a program that helps mentor young women and develop their skills.
I immediately raised my hand and said I wanted to be a part of it.
Completely saw the power of the network of women, the strength it was giving me individually.
And TCI teaches them in a way that makes it not just comfortable, but really empowering for them.
Thank you, Amy, and hopefully you guys will find out more information about Strategies for Success, a really terrific program. So how does it all sound? Pretty inspiring, I hope. If you are a TCI member, thank you. If you're not as of yet, consider joining today. For the next 48 hours, we are offering a complimentary 1 hour of coaching with Lindy Smiley, who's amazing and is here today, who's the SVP and Global Head of Human Resources for Starwood Property Trust. Lindy can help you. She can help you think about career goals, help you get that resume finely tuned, and or any other professional questions that you may be thinking about. So see the membership forms on your table, stop by the table out front to sign up, and please consider joining today. A few quick housekeeping points before we get started. Take out your phones and check in on social media. We've been running the hashtags and our addresses for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Please take a minute and check in and tell people that you are here and investing in your own personal and professional development. And then silence them so we can enjoy the rest of the panel discussion. And finish your silent auction bidding. We've got about maybe a few minutes left. I think they were going to close at 12:45, but if you want to run out and see if you got it, please go and secure your bids. It's now my pleasure to introduce Doris Nara, the Wealth Advisor and Senior Vice President at Wells Fargo Bank, our generous signature sponsor for today's event, to get our program underway. Thanks again.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everybody. It's fantastic to see so many of you here today, and please give yourselves a round of applause for being this successful and participating in our wonderful event. I am proud to be here as a board member of TCI as well as a team member of Wells Fargo, which has supported me throughout my career and my growth, as well as other women who wanted to be in executive leadership and women business owners. This is my 4th year on the board of TCI, and it has been an absolute pleasure to be part of this wonderful organization and to have the opportunity to interact with these wonderful thought leaders and tremendous women that have really paved the way in many ways for some of us like me. It's my great pleasure to introduce you to the moderator of our panel discussion today, Janet Altman, who is a marketing principal and a partner at Kaufman Rossin, as well as our much appreciated research sponsor. Janet also serves as the chairwoman of Miami's prestigious Women Fund, and you'll find her at the forefront of many other groups that support the progress of women in our community. Please join me in a warm round of applause for Janet.
Good afternoon. Wow, it's great to see such a full room here. It's really my honor to be the facilitator and also to have compiled all of the survey data for the top women business leaders in Florida this year and in past years. One of the things that I think is really exciting is to see the growth in the number of women who are starting businesses or leading businesses in Florida, and to see how we compete and compare to other states, because we're number 2 in the country for women who own businesses, and that's some of the data that's in the survey. Entrepreneurship among women has been increasing for 2 decades, but Florida is a great place to be a women leader. So give yourselves all a round of applause for that, right? Now, there's a lot of information in the booklets that are on your tables about what women are telling us and what they're thinking, but what I want you to take away, really, the highlight of it is how optimistic we all are about the future of the women who lead the businesses here, and about the future of South Florida and Florida as a place that really leads the country in this. It's a real honor and a privilege to be involved in this study. So as I said, there's a lot of data here, and you can flip to the back and you can see who our top women leaders are, but you'll see all of that a little bit later. What I'm really excited about doing is moderating our panel today and bringing up our panelists. Now, I think that it's a really exceptional panel, and it's an opportunity for us to get to know some of our top folks here in the room. So I'm going to invite them up to join us now. The first one is Liz Alicia Aviles. She's one of our panelists. Please come up and join us. And when we all get up here, I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves so they can tell us a little bit about their journey to leadership. Thank you for joining me, Liz. Second is Maria Alonso. Third, we have Dr. Tracy Lynn Burton. Please come up and join me. And our fourth panelist, we actually have a substitution on the panel. Christine Duffy, who is the president of Carnival Cruise Line, is ill today and is unable to join us. But we have Ron Phillips, who is the Chief People Officer for Carnival, and I think it's going to be very interesting to have him join us on the panel. So please come up, Ron. So as I said, I'd like to start by asking each of our panelists to introduce yourself and to talk about your journey to becoming a leader. So let's start with Dr. Tracy Lynn.
Well, hello, I am Tracy Lynn. I am the CEO and founder of Tracy Lynn Jewelry. We're a direct sales company with over 35,000 independent representatives in the U.S., the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and Canada. And what was the other question?
Tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a business leader.
Wow, my journey honestly started when I was 4 years old. At 4 years old, my grandmother was an entrepreneur. She sold clothing. So at 4, I would travel with my grandmother and sell the clothes out of the back of her car, out of the trunk of her car. And my job at 4, instead of going to daycare, was to remember what customers we had to see and how much they owed us. So I've been counting money since I was 4. And so my journey honestly started with entrepreneurship at that time. And 16 years old, I opened up a hair salon. My mother had a vacant apartment, so I did a hair salon, and then I went to college doing some other entrepreneurial things. And then I found myself at a desk job at 25, and every day at lunchtime, I found my head hitting the desk because I was nodding out, falling asleep. And I had to ask myself a question at 25, there has got to be more to life than this. So I started out starting my own business at 25, and I never looked back. I've been an entrepreneur since then, and that's only been 3 years ago.
All right, thank you very much. Maria Alonso, tell us about your journey to becoming a women leader.
Hi, Janet, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to take a little bit of a different tack, and I'm not sure that it really started at the age of 4 for me, but you know, I'm originally an engineer, and that's what I actually got my degree in, and worked in corporate America for quite a long time, having started at, I'm going to date myself, what was Southern Bell, now Bell South, and was there for a little bit until I think I pretty much came to the same realization that Tracy did. I knew that there was more to it than that, although looking back, I think it was a great way and a great skill set that I've been able to apply in different industries and different roles, including today. From there, I went back to school, got my master's in business administration, and fell into banking. Believe me, if I had wanted to be a banker, I would have studied finance. That's not what I wanted to do, and there I was, 22 years later. I worked for Nations Bank and many others that eventually became Bank of America. What I loved about that role, for 12 of those 22 years, I really had the privilege of leading our corporate social responsibility work in South Florida or variations, but really always focused on my hometown of Miami. And it gave me an opportunity to be involved in the community. And that's really where I'm going to take this, because that's what's led me to my current role at United Way of Miami-Dade. It allowed me, by being involved in the community and representing Bank of America on many boards, number one, it gave me a good sense of what our community's needs were. But number two, it also allowed me to have leadership roles that I may or may not have ever had within Bank of America. And what was successful about that, at least for me, it was one, rewarding, but number two, it really allowed me to build personal networks and professional networks outside of financial services, which I think really ties back to where I am today at United Way of Miami-Dade. So I think it always comes back full circle, even though it's always not a linear path. Sometimes it's a journey. But I think that community involvement and leadership was really what made a difference for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Maria. Liz, tell us about your journey.
Well, my journey has been a very interesting journey. I am now the president of my own company. It's called Aliles Partners, and under it are two businesses. I have a Huntington Learning Center that does education for kids from 4 on up to adults. And then I also have another business called Core that does STEM education for kids in Latin America. So, but for most of you that know me, I spent 18 years at Western Union, did every single job you could think of, moving myself up. And I was there for 18 years, and I left as an executive vice president. So I had a really long journey. I can tell you that the one thread, you know, as we were talking about threads within your life, is I really, really believed in education. I worked really hard to get myself through college, then to Harvard Business School. So that's why now I spend a lot of my time trying to get kids to really focus on their education and the excellence that it requires for them to get on and move up into their careers. So that's why I'm involved in STEM, and that's why I'm involved in the tutoring business.
Thank you, Liz. So Ron, tell us a little bit about yourself, but also tell us a little bit about Carnival and how your organization has become the kind of organization where a woman like Christine can be president.
So first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm thrilled to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. My leadership journey, it's funny, as I was listening to the question, I started thinking way back. And as I think about it, I think the bug hit me pretty early. I was captain of the football team, but before that, I was captain on the safety patrols, right? And so I just think through a lot, safety patrols, right? There are fellow safety patrols out there. All right, got it. And I think I really hit my stride in undergrad. Whether it was the fraternity or whether it was several campus organizations, I just gravitated towards leadership. And that resulted in me going to law school, getting a law degree, practicing law, and then working for 3 Fortune 500 companies, and now at Carnival Cruise Line as the Chief People Officer, which is a fancy name for a Senior Vice President of Human Resources. So, but I love to think of myself as the Chief People Officer. So, as it relates to Carnival, it's interesting. I think back to another metaphor analogy, I always get those mixed up, of football coaches. And I think about African-American football coaches in the NFL. And when Tony Dungy was named an African-American football coach and everybody celebrated that, one of the things he said in the press conference is, I'm not the first person to be qualified for the role. I'm just the first person to be given the opportunity. And I think at Carnival, we have taken the courageous step in making sure that we have a concerted effort to identify high potential women and put them in leadership positions, and at the same time make sure that there's a culture in place to really support women leaders in leadership positions. So I think whether it's our board, whether it's Arnold Donald, our CEO, I think that he has really leaned into diversity and inclusion and really creating an environment where women can prosper and really go to different heights at Carnival Cruise Line.
Excellent. So we've heard a little bit about each of these leaders' journeys to where they are right now. I want to talk a little bit about obstacles. And I want to ask about obstacles, Liz, some obstacles that have gotten in your way because you were a woman in your career.
Well, it's interesting. When I was thinking about this question, I was saying, sometimes the obstacles are not outside. Sometimes the obstacles are inside. I was thinking back to, you know, the things that are rewarded in your early career. Your early career, they're asking you to go out there, grab what you need to get, and bring it back, no matter how many people you trample on or whatever, right? When you get into a mid-level management career, they're rewarding you for doing things through others, right? So no longer can you be the one that is not really looking at the landscape, but you have to know who to appoint to the right job to come back. But when you're in the C-suite, it's very different because you have to know, be strategic, know who to appoint, and also read the tea leaves. And so I will say that the obstacle was sometimes I held on too long to some of my earlier skills, and I didn't embrace and understand what was around me enough to be really successful in some parts of my career. So I hit my head against the wall a lot until I learned how to behave in different circumstances.
Thank you. Tracy Lynn, do you have obstacles that you encountered because you're a woman?
Well, actually, today I had an obstacle that I encountered, and I'll tell you why. Not necessarily because it's plenty because I'm a woman, and I'll talk about that. But, you know, even coming today, I was on my way here, my husband and I, and there was a crew working outside in our development, and we live like on an island, so it's only one way in, surrounded by water, and one way out. And the power line fell, and the wires were live. And they said no one would be able to leave for 4 hours, which would have meant I would have missed this luncheon. And we were sitting there thinking, what were we going to do? Because the obstacle in front of us was this down power line that was live, and it was no way around. And one of the neighbors rode by, and he said, well, do you have a boat? And he said, because if you want to get out of here, that's the only way out. And we laughed, and I'm saying, no way. And then I thought about it. You know what? We do have a boat. And I told my husband, I said, now I'm going to have to sacrifice you today. You're not going to be able to come. You need to get your jeans on and shirt, and I'm going to get in the boat, and you're going to take me around to one of the aisles that's free, and I'm going to call my staff and have them meet me and let them know that they can come down this one street, pick me up, and get me here. I got in the boat. Absolutely. Power was out in the house. I found 2 shoes that did not match. I put them on. I hopped into the boat. My husband took me around. He said, that's the wrong way. We can't just go in people's backyards. I said, I believe when we get there, you got to have the faith. I believe when we get there, there's going to be either an abandoned house or something being worked on. I'm going to climb in somebody's yard if I have to, but I'm going to find my way out. Sure enough, there was construction. It was a house that was just level. They had a dock. We pulled up. My team came by. I saw them driving across the one bridge that was free, and I called. I said, I'm coming in hot. I need you to hurry up, park the car. I'm going to throw a rope, but I am coming in hot. And I was coming in hot. He was coming. My staff jumped out, put the blinkers on. I threw the rope. My staff got it. One of the team, they were pulling me from the boat. I got it on video if you don't believe it. I had one of my team members video this whole thing because who would believe this? I mean, this was just a couple hours ago. And he pulled the boat. I jumped out. I had my bag, my extra shoes, and here I am, right on time. That was an obstacle.
That was an obstacle.
Absolutely.
This is a woman who knows how to overcome obstacles.
Yes, by any means necessary.
And one of the most interesting parts of that story, I think, is that there you are waiting for some answer, and a neighbor gave you the answer. And it didn't seem like the answer, but then you thought about it, and then it was. So I think that the elements of that story, not just the power line and not just the obstacle and not just the fact that you're here and your shoes match, but the fact that things happen to us and we need to be open to solutions that are not necessarily obvious.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably true of all of us here. And all of the leaders in the room. We're always trying to think about what's the other solution? What else can we do?
And sometimes it's right in front of you and you can't see it because you're so focused on the down power line, the obstacle. And then I'm going to miss it. Oh my gosh, I told them I was going to be there. I'm supposed to be on the panel. What am I going to do? But once I heard that, it planted a seed. That's why it's also important who you're talking to. In the middle of things going wrong, you need to call the people that are going to talk you up and not talk you down.
Right. Which I guess leads us to talking about networks. So if you look in the survey, you'll see that one of the one of the reasons why a lot of people who answered the survey believe that they are successful is because they have built networks that have supported them. We have built networks that have supported us, that have enabled us to see the obstacle and how to get around the obstacle, and helped us, you know, with the idea of the boat, or even the boat itself in our metaphorical world. And maybe I'm taking that a little too far. But I know that Maria has a really strong network, and I think that's one of the things that you've built in your career that you can share with us, not only what you've been able to achieve because of your network, but maybe some of the ideas on how to build the right kind of network.
Well, I think everybody in this room would absolutely agree that it all comes down to relationships, right? Absolutely. And building those networks within your workplace, but also coming back to community involvement and giving you the ability to build your networks outside of your workplace across industries is so critical. Alongside with that, I think it's really important to have mentors, and I personally know that I've been the beneficiary of mentors across different stages of my career. I mean, people, and they have mostly been men. I'm dating myself, but I think it's because at the time that I was growing up, you know, there weren't that many women leaders, but there were these men that saw something in me that allowed me. First of all, they gave me opportunities that I probably wouldn't have gotten. They gave me stretch opportunities and just let me run. I didn't always run successfully. I did stumble, but they allowed me to do that, and they had enough faith in me to do that. They also gave me honest coaching. And I know we have a CPO in the room and actually on the panel, but sometimes outside of what you're allowed to really say in an HR setting, okay? And they were just very honest. And I think that there is a lot of value in honest coaching and feedback. It definitely helped me grow. And just also, they weren't afraid to share their learnings, their own challenges that they had in their careers, and different ways in which they or others that they worked with had overcome them. I mean, I think that we've all seen the statistics, and they're appalling. 52% of all professional jobs are held by women. Yet women are underrepresented, not only in the C-suite. I think it's less than 5% of all Fortune 500 CEOs are women, but we're also represented just in leadership positions. It's about 14.6% of women are in leadership positions, and about 8.1% or something like that are top earners. Clearly, there have been a lot of strides made in the last couple of decades, but clearly there's a lot of room for growth. So that's where I think that organizations such as TCI and the work that you do in building networks and building each other up is really vital to women leadership. So I applaud all of you for the work that you do.
Excellent. I know when I met Ron earlier today, he was telling me that some of his great mentors have been women. Can you tell us a little about your women mentors?
Yeah, it's interesting. As I think back to the mentors I had, I think about, and I'm going to call them out, Marcy Vargas at McDonald's and Roger Carroll Rogers, right? And both of them taught me some amazing lessons early in my career when I was in middle management. Marcy taught me through direct feedback. You know, as I stumbled, you know, she gave me honest, brutal feedback, which I didn't get from others. And it really helped me. But she also talked to me about results and how results matter. And before you think about some of the other things, you've got to have a focus on execution and a focus to get things done and get those results. And then Roger Carroll Rogers really taught me about, I think it's organizational savvy and political savviness. How do you manage an organization, right? How can you see the rules and the unwritten rules in a culture? And how do you figure out how to navigate those? And how do you build relationships to continue to grow your career? So those are two people that I'm indebted to. I still talk to, and that was, you know, I'm gonna date myself, but that was 15, 20 years ago. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, because they took me when I was raw clay and really molded me into the leader that I've become.
Marvelous. Now, some of us find a real passion for what we do. And I think that Liz mentioned earlier that all along throughout her career, she was focused on education, and it was really important to her. And I'd like to hear her talk about that passion and how it's driven some of the decisions that she's made for what to do with her leadership.
Well, you know, when you're looking at your career, you have to look around you, and you have to see who's being successful. And you have to see what do they have that you need, okay? And when I got to a point, I was with AT&T, and I was doing very well. I was in sales, but when I looked around me, the people that were getting promoted all had their MBA. I said, well, they all have their MBA, they're getting promoted. I'm gonna get mine also. And I will tell you, I have a very, you know, my husband and I did our Harvard MBAs over 3 years. I can tell you, those were the 3 toughest years, because remember, when you get to a level in your career where you're making money, now you're going back to school. So the way that we did it is my husband went to Harvard the first year I worked. AT&T was good enough to relocate me to Boston so I could be with my husband. Those kinds of things don't really happen anymore, but they believed in me as much to relocate me there. The next year, I applied to Harvard and got accepted. But if you could imagine not having a whole lot of savings and 2 people at Harvard Business School, you have to have guts and you have to go for it. It was an opportunity and we went for it. And it has paid off for me handsomely. I feel that they helped me think more strategically, drive my decisions, and gave me opportunities that I would never have been available to me if I didn't have that network of friends and the ability to present myself more than that little girl from the Bronx in New York City. It opened up a lot of doors for me. So that's why right now I so believe in education. And, you know, there's a lot of changes in education right now, but I think a lot of the changes are good because they're helping kids at an early stage to be more strategic, more critical, offering them greater critical thinking. So I think that's been one of the things that I've stressed. And every young person I talk to, I always talk to them about all the possibilities. And I always use myself as an example. If I could move out of the Bronx, the South Bronx, and get to where I've been, so can you. So I think it's important for everyone to really focus on education.
I think that leads into an interesting question. Everybody, or almost everybody, wanted to answer this one, so I'll let a few of you jump into it. What advice would you give to an ambitious young woman? Tracy?
Stay ambitious, stay hungry, stay coachable, stay trainable, leadable, and surround yourself. I can't say that enough. Your network has a lot to do with your net worth. So you need to really surround yourself with people who are moving in the same direction, in the right direction that you are. So I would say that.
Excellent. Anyone else with advice?
I'll jump in. I think one of the things that you have to do is what Tracy said, not be afraid. But developing a plan early in your life for what you want and what you envision. And I will tell you one other piece of advice. Always, always save so that if you're in a situation you no longer want to be in, that you have choices. Because it's really important. I'll never forget what my Harvard professor told us. Always have FU money. I didn't understand that at the time. But, you know, It's served my husband and I very well. If you don't want to be somewhere, you don't have to be there because you have the resources to make your own decisions. And you're going to be hit with a lot of unethical things that you don't like, or you're just uncomfortable. But when you've planned your life, and that includes, your child's education, your own life, it's much easier when you have the resources to take you where you want to go.
If I might be so bold.
Please.
So many thoughts went through my head. I would say, as I just knocked them out, first, be relentless and fearless. Second, which I think is critically important, be self-aware. Get feedback and know how you show up and know how people experience you as a leader. Get results. I think that's critically important. Find mentors and sponsors. I think that those things will help you, and build relationships. I think that those things are critically important.
Excellent. So I want to ask Maria a specific question about where she is now versus her career getting there. I know that you were very involved with United Way as a board member, and you were instrumental in changing the way that the giving program operates in our community. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about the difference between being on the board and being the CEO, and how your power dynamic is different now and how that feels.
Well, for those that may not know, I will be coming up on my 9th month at United Way of Miami-Dade as the president and CEO. I don't get hung up on titles, by the way, because I don't think they mean much. But there is difference, right? There is now an even greater sense of skin in the game. I have skin in the game every single day. And not that I didn't as a board member, but it's different, because as a board member, you rally around your agenda at the meetings, if there's an initiative that you're leading, but your work is probably going to be focused on one area of a much broader scope of work. So how is it different? Well, first and foremost, I get to work with an incredible team of professionals, and I really mean that. These are, many of them I had the pleasure of working with as a board member, but now it's even more so. These are folks that are experienced, seasoned, and incredibly committed to this community and to making a difference. And they wake up every single day thinking about, how am I going to do that? So that's incredibly energizing. Second, I work with a great board of industry and community leaders, hundreds of organizations, including nonprofits in this community, that are also working towards making this community better and stronger for all. And I can tell you that is so rewarding and so beautiful to see and be a part of. Third, I would just say that the needs in this community are greater than ever when you start to think about the fact that everybody perceives Miami for the glitz of Miami, right? The movie stars, the athletes, the fast boats, the fast cars, etc., the island life. But they don't see that 6 out of 10 of our households in our community really struggle to make ends meet every single day, and that they really are one emergency away from falling into financial chaos. And that is what our work works on. And we don't do it by ourselves. Again, we do it with hundreds of nonprofits by our side, hundreds of volunteers and community and industry leaders. And I think that that is the power of United Way. But I'm also not Pollyanna-ish. I do come from the corporate world, and I am a businesswoman. And nonprofits are businesses, okay? But here's what I would say. I see our work as aligned to economic development. The stronger the weakest among us is, the better this place, this community that we call home, will be, not only for us to live and raise our families, but to do business, okay? I also think of the nonprofit sector and the contributions that it makes. Given my background, I know that small business is the backbone of the U.S. economy. But I'd like to propose that nonprofit sector is the beating heart of that economy. And you need both. And you need both. But here are some statistics I want to share with you that I think are eye-opening when you think of nonprofits as a sector. You know, we employ about 10.6% of the U.S. workforce works in nonprofit industry. We represent over 9% of all wages and salaries in the United States. We contribute more than $938 billion, so almost $1 trillion with a T, to our GDP. And if we were measured just on those facts alone, we would be the 16th largest economy in the 199 that are tracked by the World Bank. So you talk about power, that's power. And then best of all, I get to do what I love every single day, right? Because what do I want? What do you want? What do all of us want in this room? For this community to be the best community it could be, the strongest it could be, but guess what? It's not going to happen if that's only us. If it's not all of us, not the 2.7 million people that have the privilege to call Miami-Dade County home, the businesses aren't going to thrive, and we're not going to thrive because we're going to be worried about crime, we're going to be worried about violence, we're going to be worried about a lot of things that maybe will not make this community so great. So, you know, it's just the platform to make a difference has been elevated. It's just at such a different level. I will forever be a part of the corporate community and certainly the Bank of America family. That's not going to change. You don't change 22 years. But I can tell you the opportunity to continue to make a difference in this community now is at a whole new level, and I'm just grateful for that opportunity.
Marvelous. Thank you. I just want to let Lori know that if you're trying to give me a signal from the back of the room, I cannot see you with the lights. So if you want to give me a signal at any point, that corner. But we're going to keep going. So, Liz, you had a great and successful career in really large companies, and now you are running your own show, and it sounds like you're getting a great deal of satisfaction out of it. What did you take from that long, successful career with really large companies, and how does it feel to be applying it to your own entity or entities?
Okay, well, I'll tell you the things that I miss from corporate America. I miss that somebody else worries about the payroll. I miss that I don't have a personal assistant. I miss that I can go to any department if I need a lawyer, I needed a finance guy, I needed any resource, I could go somewhere. And remember, I had been at Western Union for 18 years, so I knew everybody, okay? So if I needed to get something done, I knew where to go. When you're on your own business, you got to meet payroll, or you won't have any employees, okay? You have to know what resources you're going to deploy to what projects, because if you make a mistake, it's your money, not the company's money. And I think the other thing is, I think the best thing about owning my own business is the freedom that I have. I can make my own decisions. I live and die my own decisions. But, you know, it's very rewarding to see when you water something and it flowers, and that you're paying yourself. And those months where you didn't do what you were supposed to do, or you're planning for something and the resources have been deployed, you have to understand that it's your money. So I think the greatest satisfaction I have had is when I see I had a month that the business grew 30% or 40%. There's so much satisfaction in that. And, you know, we were at a board meeting a few weeks ago, and a lot of people on the board said, I want to leave corporate America, but I'm too afraid of, you know, if you really want to do something on your own, you have to take Tracy Lynn's metaphor for finding a way to do it. There's lots of obstacles out there, but you can take each one and overcome them. But don't be afraid, because, you know, there have been days when I'm very afraid, but I push through and say, okay, well, today was not a good day. Tomorrow will be a better day. So that eternal optimism that she's talking about, I think all of us, if we really want to pursue something, have to go for it.
Thank you. Very well said, yes. So along those lines, I think I'd like to hear from Tracy Lynn about really owning her own destiny, the way that you described your journey and the idea that working at a desk was not going to work for you. When you chose to create your own company, and when you chose to build what has turned into an enormous success, were you afraid, concerned, nervous about anything, or were you really so confident that there was no one who could stop you?
Well, at first, I was extremely confident, and I had some failure. And the hardest thing about failure is trusting yourself again. Do you have what it takes? Can you do it? And the most important thing that we must understand, especially as an entrepreneur, you can never lead from a place of failure and fear. Even though we've had some failures, failure is an event, it's not a person. So I had to separate the failure or the things that didn't go right from me versus the event. And even today, there are still times that I am not sure, just like that boat. I wasn't sure if there was going to be an abandoning. I just had hope. So I always have to be optimistic. I have to live in hope. I mean, I'm grateful because I'm always positive. My blood type is B positive. So, I mean, it's down to the blood for me. And you have to have that sense of optimism that things are going to work out, and then you have to learn the lessons from the times that it didn't work. I've learned more things from things that didn't work out because now I won't repeat those lessons again, and they've helped me. They've actually catapulted me. Some of my worst times have catapulted me into incredible destiny. So I would do it all over again. I wouldn't do certain things again, but I live this life. I stand by it. I agree by what you said. I agree with what you said. I live by those decisions, and sometimes I suffer by them, but all in all, they're good decisions in terms of being a strategic thinking entrepreneur and a happy entrepreneur. Someone once said, because I love what I do, I would do it for free, but because I do it so well, people will pay me for it. So I like to live in that zone.
So I think that's a great way to live your life, and I love the way you talk about it as well. So one of the questions that we ask in the survey every year is we ask women who lead businesses if they think there's a difference between men's leadership and women's leadership. Do you think women lead better than men? Do you think men lead better than women? Do you just think it's different? And I'm always surprised that the majority of the people think that women and men lead differently, but not that one is better than the other. And I wanted to hear what our Chief People Officer on the panel had to say about this. Not only do women lead better than men, because I think that, you know, we can all have opinions on that, but in your career and in your bio that I read this morning, you deal with leadership a lot. You talk about diversity a lot. These are things that are in front of you all the time, and I think you might have a perspective on it that we'd like to hear.
I'm not sure I do. So here's what I would tell you. And you know, this is one person's opinion. Leadership is leadership. And I've seen amazing women leaders. I've seen amazing men leaders, right? I have seen some differences. I've seen differences in a lot of different places, right? I've seen differences as it relates to listening, empathy, strategic thinking, being thoughtful, and less reactive and less impulsive. And so I've seen some differences. It doesn't mean that my experience is the experience for everyone. So I'm not so sure I can add a lot to the conversation, because I think that I would answer the question very similarly to the way others have answered the question, that I think that, there are great women leaders and not so great women leaders. I think there are great male leaders and not so great male leaders. I think you've got to figure out a way to give people opportunity, and let those great women leaders rise to the top. And so I think that's the way I'm going to answer the question without getting in a lot of trouble today.
I think that's a good way to answer the question. And, my perspective on it from looking at the data is that many of us believe what you do, that a leader is a leader, and the gender or the diversity in that person may help or harm them in terms of the way that they lead or change the way that they lead, but leadership crosses all of those borders. So, good.
One thing that I do want to add, when I kind of walk through those 6 things that I talked about, and as I sit here, I get a little smarter, right? And so there were a couple of things that I think that I left off the list, and I was thinking about some of the other comments. I think resilience is underrated. I think the ability to bounce back from adversity is completely underrated, and I think people should fail more. And so resilience is a competency that I think really separates high-performing, overachievers from folks that just don't seem to be able to break through and get to that next level of leadership. So that's one thing that was just popping in my head as we were talking through.
It's true, very true.
Okay. Excellent. So one of the things that I learned in my research was that just a few weeks ago, Tracy Lynn was honored as a 2018 African American Achiever, which I congratulate you on, and I'm honored to have you on our panel. I wanted to ask you a question that takes a little bit of a different spin on that, though. I know that being a role model as an African American leader is amazing, and it's a fabulous thing for our community and for many of the young women in our community. I wonder, though, what you can tell us about how that's fueled the success of your business. How being a woman, being an African American woman, has created opportunity or changed your success in ways that we might not have thought of.
Well, I think we talked about it the entire time, and you summed it up so perfectly. Resilience. I've learned to be resilient. In my early years, I owned a franchise, and I couldn't get the financing, so I took out a home equity line. Then I had to do it. I owned 3 of them, and I did it 2 times, and the 3rd time I had enough financing on my own to get that. But even today, I can be underestimated, and I'm okay with that, because I can still prove what I'm able to do. And because of that resilience, even when I'm underestimated, I can still overperform, get what I need, and get where I need to be. And I had a situation where I was changing something in business, and it was going to be a really hard road. And the people came out, they met with me, they underestimated me, but because they did, it gave me the time I needed to go stealth mode in this project and make it happen like 5 months early, because they didn't challenge it. And I got this particular project and they didn't, because they underestimated me. So I use that as my secret weapon. It's really my secret sauce to my long-term success.
Well, thank you for sharing that secret.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
So Lori was giving me the signal, so I'm going to wrap us up here. Anyone else have some last advice that you'd like to give to this wonderful audience of high-powered women leaders and potential leaders? Any last words?
I'll start with one thing. I am a member of TCI, and I think that, with all of the meetings, we have book clubs, and we meet in the evenings just for a couple of hours, and as busy as we are, I make time to come to those meetings early in the morning or late after work, just because it's powerful and it's made a difference and an impact in my life. So I would suggest that we stay connected. It's, this life is a relationship business. And I'm in a relationship business, and all of us talked about the value and the importance of relationships. And it is important that you find your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So you need to find the tribe of women who will give you exactly what you need when the world wants to take so much away, the job is pulling at you and everything else. You need to have a place that you can come and fill up. You cannot, as a woman, give from an empty place. You must give from the fullness and the overflow. Because if you give while you're empty, that's how depression sets in. And then we can't think clearly. And as a woman, as a strategic woman, we have to always be able to think clearly and get all that we need. And sometimes it's just someone else, another woman that's a peer telling you, you are capable of doing it. You've got this. Sometimes that's all it takes. I just need to be reminded. I need to be like Popeye, eat my spinach, get filled up, and I'm ready to face the world.
Just a quick hook on your comment. When you said you have to find somebody that will tell you that you're capable, sometimes those folks aren't around. And so you've got to tell yourself you're capable. And a lot of times, sometimes we self-sabotage. And we've got to get to a place where we can put those voices in our head on mute and say, you know what, I belong in this meeting. I earned my place to be in this meeting. And a lot of times we come to those meetings, or we're places that we believe are above our pay grade, and we're quiet and silent in those meetings. So I think you've got to learn how to put those on mute, and then you've got to figure out how to reaffirm yourself. And there are times I stand in the mirror in the morning. This may be too much information, but I stand in the mirror in the morning and I tell myself, look, let's go. Let's go. Let's go set the world on fire, and be conscious of your energy and your effort.
Absolutely.
Marvelous.
Well,
Maria.
I would just say to adopt the mantra of doing well by doing good. I have to tell you, you get so much in return, and you actually get some real tangible results from giving. I mean, your endorphins increase, right? That means that you're going to be in a better mood. You're probably going to see yourself better in that mirror. You're going to have more confidence. You're going to be able to get more business, and you're going to be able to do so much good for all those that can't and don't have a voice. So doing good by doing well. Doing well by doing good. Thank you.
Excellent. Last word to Liz.
Okay, well, I was going to say resiliency. You know, I think, you know, it was said here before, but I think resiliency is something that we all need, no matter where you are in your career. You're starting out, you're in your mid-career, you own your own business, or you're thinking about owning your own business. You just have to go for it. You can't be afraid. You know, sometimes, you know, we're so afraid of moving forward. If you just try it, it may work. And if not, you do mid-course corrections and you do other things. There's not one road that's going to take you in life. There's going to be many different paths. And I have to say, the fact that you're here and you're reaching out to all the fabulous women of TCI, I think it's a fabulous opportunity for you to meet other people and do new things.
Well, thank you to all of our panelists. Let's give them a round of applause for sharing with us today. That happens. Yeah. So you all have a copy of the survey in front of you. It has some great information. And you'll learn what some of our other business leaders in TCI and in Florida are having to say about how they started their businesses, obstacles that they've encountered, and their feelings about leadership as well. So thank you.
Okay, what a great panel. So now we get down to the real business in honoring our wonderful honorees for today. And I'm going to start with our top 10 nonprofits. So as I call out your name, please come on up to the the front of the stage. And my colleague Tracy here will hand you your certificate. And again, congratulations on all of your success. All right, we are starting with Karen Egusi, Carrie Ann Royas, Nancy Robin, Deborah Spiegelman, Jermaine Ball, Madeline Lozano, Barbara Weinstein, Maria Alonso, Christy Mollis, Sister Linda Bevilacqua. And our top 10 startups, which is actually a new category we added this year. We're gonna lead the way with Janice Haley, Pilar Carvajal, Liz Alicia Velez, Arlene Alvarez, Pandwe Gibson, Michelle Abbs, Jessica Knopf, Antoinette Zell, Beth Carrillo-Phyllis, and please, if I butchered that, don't kill me, Linda Alexander. Please come on up. All right, on to our top 50 for-profits. Leading the way was Christine Duffy. Unfortunately, she's not here to join us today, but hopefully we'll have our head of people department. I'm sorry. Where's Rob? Maybe he can get that one on her behalf and take a photo. There you are. Kirsten Dolan, Jana Ronert, Elizabeth Fargo, Catherine Muth, Olga Remuto, Nadine Heubel, Maite Fernandez, Deborah Herman, Sue Romanos, Adele Gonzalez, Tracy Lynn Burton, Rachel Sapoznik, Jennifer Kramer, Maureen Shea, Ginger Martin, Tina Elmowitz, Blanca Acosta, Sandy King, Karen Corner, Diane Wilcox, Linda Watson, and Leanne Hoey. We have more, but let's give the first group a round of applause since we're having a jam here, traffic jam. Okay, we're gonna continue with Dr. Leslie Bauman, Susanna Robledo, Betsy McGee, Kay Stevenson, Suzette DiMaggio, Tanya Mayer, Eileen Rosenzweig, Celeste Notaro Donato, Kate Boyer, Patricia Werhan, Holly McDonald-Korth, Joyce Velichowski, Peggy Sue Wingard, Debbie Savage, Danielle Huff, Kim Kendall, Tracy Ann Boyle, Jeannie Klein, Anjanette Miner, Katie Kessler, Angela Polanio, Maria Harrison, Suzanne Lemon, Lourdes Madsen, Christine Ramirez, Linda Lewitz-Boone, and Marguerite Ramos. Congratulations. We're going to try to line everybody up so we can take a photo. All right, Laura.
Thank you, Doris, and thank you to our honorees. That's great to have you all here. So I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to be really quick. I promise. To my honorees, there are photo ops after individual, and if you didn't get your certificate, please come over there, housekeeping. The air plant centerpieces on the table are for my honorees. Please make sure you take my honorees, take your centerpiece home, our gift from us. So how great is it to be in this room filled with women and men that support, nurture, encourage, and help us all grow, right? Yes. So there's no better way to take yourself and your work to the next level than by surrounding yourself with incredible like-minded women and men. There are men in this room. We'll acknowledge them. So this event and the events leading up today are perfect examples of what the Commonwealth Institute is all about. As I watched and listened to everyone coming together to catch up with fellow members, meet new women and men, and share their stories, I was super inspired, and I hope you were too. Thank you to our panelists for sharing your journeys on your path to success and your pearls of wisdom with us. Your insights are a wonderful tool to help us all grow in our businesses and in our leadership roles. Thank you again to our sponsors, our volunteers, our silent auction donors, our board for your support, and of course, Katie, who's busy outside and always is. Congratulations again to our top 50 women and our top 10 women. Please don't forget, I know those of you that were bidding on the silent auction, don't forget to check out at the silent auction, register your high potential women for our upcoming fall session of Strategies for Success. We already have 8 spoken for. Ask us for more information about our executive forums. We do have some space in Coral Gables, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. And join TCI within the next 48 hours to receive your hour of coaching. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And again, if you want to have any photos taken up front, come on up. Thank you.